You home?
Uh,
Yay. Oh, I can't hear you. Wait, maybe that's my fault.
hmm, can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear you. Yeah, that was my fault.
How was the
So how
wedding
was the trip?
Saturday?
Oh, absolutely stunning.
Oh,
It was really,
good.
really good. Yeah, we were so exhausted on Sunday, but it was so beautiful. It went really well. The brides looked so spectacular. The food, like the flowers, like it was so like over the top, but yet they're very wealthy and they're wealthy, like so wealthy that they're classy.
Oh,
Do you know what I mean? And so like flowers over the top, but yet they were so beautifully done. You didn't feel like they were over the top. Like there was
mm,
just massive flower stuff like everywhere. But it was like all the flowers ever created, but all in white with little green sprigs. Right. So you'd have like there was a tree that was wrapped in flowers. It was so
mm.
spectacular and so tastefully done. It was like, wow.
Wow,
Yeah.
amazing.
I know they're like, oh, do you want to just come back here tomorrow and get married? Like it'll all still be up. Like, yeah, I guess we should have planned better, huh? We're just going.
Exactly. Just thought, oh, the planning.
I know. No, we're just going to the beach and having pizza.
Mm.
Yeah. So how was your trip home?
Yeah, it was good. Um, I just think my body took a knock. Usually
Yeah.
within 7 days, I can fairly get back to work, function,
Hmm.
be okay. Usually I manage to work from hospital. And I'm tired, Ollie. I'm exhausted, I think is the more
Hmm.
appropriate word. So I don't know if it's just this viral thing or,
Yeah.
maybe the combination. Um, I'm not sure. I'm still figuring it out. So
Hmm.
yeah, a bit frustrated. I really thought, oh no, give me 7 days in hospital.
Yeah.
Next 7 on IV. I'm fine. I'm not fine
Yeah. What is in the IV? Is it just keeping liquid in your body? Or there antibiotics? Meds?
antibiotics. Yeah. So what
Yeah.
they usually do is they culture whatever is growing in the lungs.
Hmm.
So they have a perfect sensitivity, so they can match up whatever is growing with the sensitivities, and that's the
Oh,
antibiotics that they give to you.
that's
So
great. Oh, yeah.
yeah, very specific.
Yeah. So you just, how does it feel when you don't feel like like you're back to yourself? Are you tired? Are you ornery?
Tired,
Hungry?
tired.
Yeah.
Um, I've noticed again I'm battling with my memory. So
Mm.
I
Yeah,
think,
that makes sense.
yeah, yeah. So it's almost a little bit PTSD, I think. You know,
Mm.
going back to that old feeling of being so unwell that you can't remember, that you can't hold a
Yeah.
conversation. Um,
Yeah.
and that's why you stopped coaching. So it's all these
Right.
little
Yeah.
voices that you need to coach and calm down.
Yeah.
Keep them
Well,
in
and I
check.
did think, I didn't say this last week, but I thought, sometimes it's so funny how things work because I was like, you feel sick and horrible going into this coaching session, but yet feeling sick and horrible helps you create silence, which then allows the client to speak more. So then sometimes when you're sick or not feeling well or something's off in you have the best coaching sessions because you're like a step removed and then the client like sometimes gives more.
Yeah, but I have to say, Christine makes it easy.
No, she does. Oh,
Yeah.
yes, yes, yes. But I mean, like, I mean, in other areas of life and stuff, right? Yeah. Like if you're coaching other people.
Beautiful, Christine.
Hi.
Yes, you are stunning. You're all made up.
Oh, this is my I have to go out tonight look.
It's a good look.
Yes. And sorry I'm late. I'm always in meetings back to back, I find. I'm glad when that's
Yeah.
over.
Where are you going tonight?
I'm going to Menopause the musical.
There's a musical?
Yeah, it's called Menopause the musical. So my girlfriend and I are having ladies' night tonight. And
You
we've had
should.
tickets for months for this.
Yeah.
So,
Awesome.
yeah.
I'm gonna look this up.
Yeah,
About
there's a
Perimenopause, the musical.
Yeah, her and I should both be able to identify with a lot.
That's good. How was your weekend, Christine?
Um, Frantic.
Yeah.
My husband and I, we have a laser cutting business on the side. And so we made this our little town we live in, our local hockey team asked us to remake this board for them. And we're such overachievers, we just give ourselves heart attacks on a regular basis. And so, you know, we were like, oh, we should just do this board. It'll look nice like this and like
Mm-hmm.
this. And then it just morphed into this
Mm.
holy crap board, that has all these features and we are just panicking to get it finished. So we finally finished it last night, but that was what we did the whole weekend.
Oh man.
Getting this board done and cutting out and ideas and design and measurements and oh, I'm so glad it's over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming you did not get cutting on your Halloween little
No,
giveaways.
that's the reason we wanted to get that done because that
Oh,
was on a
okay.
time limit. They really wanted
Yeah.
it done by the second week of October at the latest.
Yeah.
And we just needed that off of our plate. So now we can just focus on the Halloween things for everyone. And
That
so
makes
my
sense.
husband's actually, because I'm feeling so behind in this course, not feeling it, I am. He's
Mm-hmm.
going to do all of the cutting and assembling while I do half of my time on this course and the other half cutting and assembling every day.
Oh, that's really good teamwork.
Well, otherwise it's just not going to get done.
He
So
doesn't have a wife.
he doesn't.
No,
Yeah,
like he needs to help you out because otherwise you might lose the plot a little bit right now with all the balls you have in the air.
well, and I've talked with him about that too, because I said
Yeah.
after my last coaching, and I said, here I am, like crying my eyes out like a little kid,
Mm-hmm.
and it was ridiculous. But he said, yeah, you're right. Like you just have too much that you're doing. And
Mm-hmm.
so he's just going to take on the heavy lifting on that one so I can do a
Yeah.
little more of this, at least until my job is done. And then I'm like on easy
Yeah.
street, right? That,
Yeah.
frees up 40 hours a week for me.
Yeah.
Shing.
That's a lot.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. What about
Um,
you, Rita?
oh, we can't hear you.
I can't hear you either.
Oh, there it is.
Sorry.
Yeah.
No, I'm good, thanks. Good.
And you, Holly?
I'm good. Yeah. I've got a list of things to do this week, but I am happy and trucking along.
Wedding plans?
Yes. So I had a good meeting with my little wedding planner friend. She is my friend. She's just being the wedding coordinator. But so yeah, we had a meeting on Sunday and like made a list, and it's really not a ton. And some things fell through that were going to happen as far as the reception. And like last night, John and I were out for dinner and talking about it. So we just totally like revamped how we're going to have pizza and beer. And but now it's turned into like this, I think, even more fun than what we were going to have before, because we're just going to make it all Irish themed and St. Patrick's Day because we lived in Ireland together.
Oh,
So we ordered koozies that are like St. Patrick's Day shamrocks and leprechauns. Because in the South
Nice.
here, like it's very much like you give away a wedding gift, right? And everybody in the South is about koozies. You all know what a koozie is.
Yeah, yeah, I make
Like
them.
oh, I
Yeah,
bet, yeah, with your printing. It's a beer can holder, Rita.
yeah.
So it's foam. It's like a thicker foam, and you would like if this was a beer can, like up to here, you would just slide it on your beer can, and it insulates it. It keeps it colder.
Colder, yes, that's okay. Is that
Yeah,
what you call the beer thingy?
that's what we call them here in the South. I don't know everywhere. I mean, I had never really seen, I don't want to say I had never seen one. They just weren't a thing where I grew up north at all. But down here, like, it's so hot. Like, you can't, any party you can't not. So it's a thing. So I'm excited. Yeah.
Fun.
So, Rita, with you feeling not 100%,
Oh,
well, just getting back to life.
okay.
Would you rather be coached first? Are you feeling more alert now, or do you think you might feel, or is it not really going to change? You decide. I just want to give you that
I
option.
was actually to ask if you would be the the client in my colleague.
Oh, I would, yeah. Yes.
Okay,
I
good.
will gladly do that for you, love. Good. Then we will do our lesson first, and then I
Hold
can.
hold on. Am I not supposed to coach today?
You are.
Oh, so I'm going to coach you twice today then.
Oh,
Yeah. Or do you want to do it on
I
Thursday?
will coach. No, that's fine. No. I'm not gonna upset anybody.
No, you
No, it
relax.
doesn't matter. I have plenty of
I might
stuff,
be
love.
bawling my eyes out. I might be completely uncoachable. Christine, do you want to run the risk?
Well, if you're a difficult client for me today, that would be a very good thing for me. That would be helpful for my coaching skills. There's nothing wrong with
Yeah.
that. But I'm okay too. Holly, I can coach you today and then we can coach on Thursday. That's fine. It's not a problem for us to do that. I'm just gonna double check my work schedule and make sure I don't have any Thursday meetings. I have I have a half an hour in between our meeting. Between, how do I say this?
Well, because
Our class on Thursday, I have a free half an hour after that class.
okay. I mean, we could do it today. I was just saying if you didn't want to do it twice today.
No, I don't mind doing it twice today.
Okay. Yeah.
Let's
Okay.
do
Then
that.
we'll
You just sit back and relax, Rita.
Okay.
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 So let's look. Today's a really good topic. There's a ton of great questions at the end. This is a really, really good chapter. I think this will give you all a lot of clarity, and I think excitement's the right word, but just like that extra push of energy with the things that are in this chapter, give you some clarity and just make you feel like, okay, I'm really like getting this. Like I've got the tools. I'm like really ready to go. So chapter 10 is facilitating awarenesses and insights. So us helping our clients have awarenesses and insights into their life. And, I was trying to view both things and I made you too big. Oh no, and now I made you so small I can't see you. Oh no, I hit you. Well, hold on. don't know what to do. That was weird. Okay. Okay, that's what so it's the awarenesses that we help the clients have and the insights that make us transformational coaches. When our clients are having awarenesses, when they're having insights, when we're helping them, like we were talking about last Thursday, like connect those dots in their lives, that's transformative. That's helping them see good patterns, bad patterns, new patterns, or just lines of connectivity in their life that they haven't noticed or tapped into before. And that's when our clients are really going to take huge leaps forward, right? Whether this awareness, insights, sometimes they're going to be about like the overall thing that you're coaching them for, right? Like they want to make a career change, you're coaching them about career change. But then every once in a while, there might be a personal aspect. And so then like you have a great session, and they really have big awarenesses or insights. And then that personal transformation pushes them to that next level when it comes to the career change, because maybe they've realized, man, I am a little bit insecure in this area, or I think negatively in this, or I need boundaries in this, right? And then just in the overall, like if the topic for you all is career change, and they have awarenesses of, let's say, where their strengths and weaknesses really lie, or they're like, yeah, I've always held this kind of job, but yeah, I actually hate it. Like if this was my dream job, this is what I would love to do. And all of a sudden your sessions turn into, okay, how do we get you there? Right? So awarenesses are everything. Creating the awarenesses, facilitating them, and making sure our clients own them. Like that's the other big thing. It's not that they just have them, but that they own them. So they are aware of the awarenesses, they take them, they internalize them, and like move forward with them. So some coaches, in sessions, there might be awarenesses, but if they're not helping the client like grasp onto them and make them a part of who they are, good, bad, whatever, then that's not going to transform the client's life. In fact, they might miss the fact that they had an awareness that was big, or that there were dots that were being connected. So that's going to give them that new perspective. And so that's what we want to be doing, is when they're having awarenesses, helping them hear them, see them, feel them, and helping them grasp that, new perspective or outlook, or, whatever that has brought about. So when we're supportive and we're creating a trusting, safe environment, then that allows the client to be even more vulnerable with us, which then in turn will create bigger awarenesses and better transformation for our clients, right? They'll allow us into other places, or deeper into places where we're really able, to help them. So the actual definition of awareness when it comes to coaching is the coach's ability to recognize. So for us to recognize personal patterns, beliefs, emotions, and the impacts of their actions in our clients. But it's also about being conscious of our internal state and the external surroundings. And then insights is the deep understanding that arises from this awareness. So the aha moment when the client connects the dots. Yeah, Rita?
I just want to, I'm trying to find the chapter.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hey.
Chapter 10.
10.
Oh, okay, I'll be there in 2 seconds.
Oh yeah, go for it. Yes.
Sorry, please guys. good. I've got it.
So we're just at the definition part. I think I just said that wrong now that I hear myself back. It's the client's ability to recognize their beliefs, emotions, and patterns and the impact of their actions. And then for insight, it's that they're having a deep understanding, like I was speaking about, that arises. So those are the aha moments. Those are the real transformative moments. So when a client connects the dots or they perceive the underlying truth about themselves or something in their life, their career, and then it's the insights that lead to the shifts in the thinking and the behavior and aligning actions more closely with the desired outcome that they're looking for, right? So aligning actions, and also sometimes, like we've spoken about, aligning values, right? Because sometimes it's our values that are misaligned. Come on, there we go. We need to align our values so that we can get the desired outcome, or the client can get the desired outcome. So David Hanscom, he defines awareness as being fully connected to the present moment. And then these are the 4 kinds of awarenesses that he talks about, which I think are a really, really great breakdown. I mean, he's obviously a doctor. He's got some good stuff. So just environmental awareness, first and foremost. So the client is able to really focus in on a single sensation as far as awareness. So like, how does that taste? What's it feel like? What's the sound? What's the temperature? So this is drawing the attention to like what's happening currently right now, non-verbally. So that's when, you know, how does it make you feel to hear yourself say you think that you are not worthy or that you're not enough, right? That's tapping in to, ooh, what's going on? And then there's also the emotional awareness. So, and these are what's displayed during a coaching session. So the emotions require not only awareness, but just that vulnerability, like we were talking about, when we are able to create an environment of trust and safety for our clients. And when there's not emotional awareness, then that's where the client can fail in the sense of grasping, right? When we're talking about like grasping the awareness and allowing it to change them. So if they're not emotionally aware of what's going on and how to grasp it, then, you know, they're going to be reactive to their behaviors or their failures, their successes, challenges. All of that gets in the way if they're not properly aware and dealing with their emotions properly. Then there's judgment. So it's important for coaches to be aware just of our own judgment that we have in life. And, you know, some of it we're aware of, but a lot of it, sometimes we're just not even aware of that it might necessarily be a bias. So every once in a while, you might have something come up in a session where you're like, oh, I wasn't, you know, aware that I was holding that bias, or I felt that strongly about something preconceived. If someone acts this way, it means that, when that's really not what that person in general is trying to put out to the universe. So we need to accept it and then confront it and work through it ourselves. And also help our clients, right? As they have judgments, biases bubble up, that we help draw their attention to it and help them work through it. I think the biggest thing is, like, in our cultures, we don't graciously allow others to maybe work through some of those things, right? Our cultures are like, either you are totally judgmental and you hold on to that bias and you join this camp over here or this camp over there, right? Or you're struggling with it inside and you just kind of push it down. And if we all were just more open and honest, and then we're able to ask questions right, and it was handled with grace, then we wouldn't have these like strong opposing. I mean, that's in the utopia world, right? That's not going to happen. But as coaches, I mean, I think the biggest thing as coaches is that if we can help one, if we can reach one, then we're going to reach many. If we try to reach everyone, we're going to reach no one, because we're just out there like flailing our arms trying to reach someone. But if we reach a client and we help them through a judgment or a bias, that impact then might change 2 to 3 other lives that go on to change 5 lives that go on to change 6 lives. Another thing we just want to be aware of is ingrained thought patterns. So the thought patterns and beliefs that have influenced your view of challenges as well as clients' challenges. So again, this is kind of like a back and forth. And I think this is what's great about being a coach is when we are great coaches, our lives are continually being transformed by helping our clients transform, right? Because it brings up true stuff in us. And hopefully we want to work through those things. As we work through those things, it allows us to help our clients work through more things, right? So coaching is, you can't stay a stagnant person and have I think a thriving coaching. Well, I shouldn't say that. You can't be stagnant and sell the heck out of a stagnant program. But I think having clients that are out there changing the world, to have that happen, we need to be changing and transforming as coaches and not be stagnant in our own lives. Christine, did you have a question? Okay.
No.
I thought I saw you put your hand up. So the techniques that we want to consider and use when we're looking to help our clients have awarenesses and insights is, of course, like we talked about on Thursday, active listening, right? So what's being said, not said. What are the shifts in the energy, changes in their tone of voice, and then just even those non-verbal cues, even if you're on or in a Zoom call, you still can pick up on the non-verbal cues that are going on. Then there is our emotional intelligence that we are working on. So leveraging our own emotional intelligence, our understanding of emotions and how those impact our lives, so that we can ask questions that align better with our clients' needs, right? And then silence as a tool. So those 3 seconds, those 5 seconds, those 10 seconds that we build in allow the client to have that extra time to think and process. So sometimes it's great, like we talked about on Thursday, because they're able to finish thoughts, right? Or they go back to a question and have a different answer or a bigger answer, another part of it they didn't realize. But also that reflection, those minutes of silence after they've said something, allows the client to hear what they said. So instead of us communicating back to them, what I heard you say is, with those extra seconds of silence, they can hear themselves. Because we say things about ourselves all the time, every day, in our minds and verbally, but we don't sit in silence every time we say a sentence and think about it, right? Or give an answer and think about it. So when we give the gift of silence to our clients, they're really sitting and reflecting on, what did I just say? What am I feeling? What's going on right now? We can challenge them. So with compassion, of course, and mercy, their assumptions, their judgments, their perceptions that are coming up. And then the reflective feedback, right? So if they're not picking up on something they just said, right, which that also, both happens. Then we do the reflective feedback, so offering the observations of what we just heard the client say or what we're seeing happening for the client. And then we can encourage that exploration. So I like, we're just kind of poking the bear, right? So then like the client says something and we're like, ooh, that might impact their belief system or their values. So then you're kind of like going in there with a question, kindly, compassionately poking at that by asking a question about, simply how does that tie into your values? How does that align with your values? Or, I like how it says the gap between current reality and that desired goal, right? So formulating questions between that, like, this is your reality and this is where you want to go, and asking a question about that area of their life. And then promoting self-efficacy. So we support the client by recognizing their strengths and their past successes to build on. And I think that's a really big thing. You go into a counseling session and you're usually focusing on the negative aspects of your life, right? What you need to fix that you don't know how to fix. Well, coaching is different in a lot of ways, as we have learned. But one of the things that's cool about the coaching is because we're not diagnosing and we're looking at achieving happier, brighter goals, we don't have the clients look back, and look at how unsuccessful they look, how unsuccessful they were in that situation. We ask them, how successful, what were your successes? So in your previous job, you said that you had great communication with your boss, and right now you're really struggling with that. What allowed you to have such great communication with your boss? Well, blah, 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 blah. Great. So how can you take blah, 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 blah and translate it into your current situation? How can you take this success that you had over here in your life, and how can you interpret it and put it into this area of your life where you're not seeing the success that you want, or you're not feeling the success, right? And by doing that, I mean, that's just, again, like back to limiting beliefs that we touched on Thursday. This helps them have better beliefs. It allows them to see, hey, I'm not, whatever their limiting belief is, I'm not that all the time, because look, I was successful back here, I succeeded here. Okay, I can translate this into my current situation and change my perspective and change the whole, belief and things around it. So powerful questioning. So I was telling you, I like to call on the star 5. Okay, the who, what, when, where, how. Those are our key words that we want to use to formulate questions with clients. And when we use those 5 words, just in essence, by using them, we're creating open-ended questions. I'm so visual. Like my visual of an open-ended question is, you ask a question, but you're giving but your client has this ability to, like, that image we have of like running through a field of flowers. It's like just beautiful and you're lost and you're just looking for things and you don't care. Versus like being sent like down a train track or an alleyway or a very like clear cut path. When you're in this big field, you just get to roam around. So like open-ended questions for me is this field of like roaming around and in the flowers and just enjoying or seeing where the moment takes you, seeing where your thoughts take you. When we don't use those 5 words to formulate a question, it sends the client down a fixed path. And we want to create an unfixed path. We're so used to thinking in a fixed path, and especially with whatever the client is coming to you for, like the overall arching goal, right? I want to work on my career. I want to work on, you know, we'll just use career, it's the easiest. My overall career, and if they haven't been succeeding in it, then they're, you know, they're thinking in a very linear, strict path, way forward kind of thinking. So then we come in with these open-ended questions, these powerful questions, and they're powerful because they're open-ended, because now it's like when the pilot says, "You are now free to roam around the cabinet." It's like we're giving that permission to our clients. You are now free to roam around your own brain and find a question, a solution, or an answer to this question that you know, you might not have ever thought about, that you've just continually been going this way. And all of a sudden we throw them a powerful question and they have a whole, like this big bright light is shined on something. And now it's like, oh, like I could pick from all these different things. It's not just this fixed way. It's, you know, it's not just this path. Okay, so these powerful questions, they are going to generate that curiosity, right? So getting them to think, asking them, what's truly important to you about this? What are you looking, you know, what do you want your perfect outcome to be? Like that. It stimulates a reflective conversation, right? So how does this align with your values, right? So getting them to, in a sense, hear what they just said by saying, how does this align with your beliefs or your values or your career goals? Oh, I guess they don't, or I guess they do. It provokes thoughts, right? So this is when we get to challenge the client to think new and different, and help them change limiting beliefs in their perspective. So what perspectives have you not yet considered? What new beliefs are you learning about yourself from this? It also helps to surface underlying assumptions. So what are some, to help identify and question the belief?
Oh,
Yeah. Was one of the new updates. It starts connecting
weird.
out of nowhere. Okay, so underlying assumptions. So what assumptions are influencing your decision making right now? It's a pretty big question. Next time you're going to make a decision yourself, think about a question like this. What am I assuming right now as I'm making this decision? I'm assuming it's going to go badly. So I am making a decision based on how can I make a positive outcome when maybe it isn't a negative thing. Maybe it's all a good thing. Okay, so let's, you know, then look at that. It invites creativity and new possibilities. So again, getting that client to create a positive reality, to create new possibilities, new routes, new endeavors that they just haven't thought about, new ways to go about performing an action that they just are rotely performing every day in their life or in their career or in their marriage or with their, you know, in their parenting. And then it generates energy and forward movement. So powerful questions really do motivate a person because we're putting the ball back in their court. We're giving them permission to freely roam about the cabin. And we don't usually feel like we get to do that in life. And we're getting them to reflect back on the successes in their life and having them take these successes and translate them and input them into a current situation. Well, that's motivating because they probably came to you with this situation, this decision, this whatever their, you know, whatever the coaching agreement is for the call. they're not thinking great about it, or that they can achieve it, or how to overcome it, or they're overwhelmed, right? But now all of a sudden they're looking back and going, man, I was successful though in this area. And we're saying, okay, well, how can you take this success and put it in this current situation? Mind blown, right? Like all of a sudden, like paradigm shift, new energy as we look at this goal, this coaching agreement, the thing we're looking to solve or move forward with. That, and when a client has that internal motivation, that intrinsic energy, that propels us forward, right? Someone else can like cheer us on, and that might help us for a step or two. But when we have it inside of us, when our clients own it, that helps them like move forward like 20 steps. So powerful questions help us help the client, get channeled in their attention, and where do they need to focus? Okay, so what part of this situation deserves more attention? Maybe they have a blind spot, right? So we come in and we can kind of see there might be a blind spot going on here. So we ask a powerful question like, what part of this situation deserves more attention? And all of a sudden the client's going, oh, I didn't think about, we only have one car. Or, oh my gosh, we have this thing or whatever. That was a weird example. Why am I thinking about a one car scenario? Having a conversation with someone about that the other day. It touches on a deeper meaning. So what does success in this area mean personally for you, right? This goes back to, like we were talking about on Thursday, like developing a strong coaching agreement. What is this going to mean for you when you've accomplished it? How is this going to change your life or your current situation when you achieve this goal that you're looking to achieve? And it evokes more questions, right? So what other questions are bubbling up for you? Just like we can say, what emotions are bubbling up for you? I see a lot of emotion on your face. What's bubbling up for you? I see your eyes moving rapidly. What other questions are coming to the surface for you? And again, because they are now free to roam around the cabin and run through their field of flowers, there is no preset answer, because they're not being sent down the path they're used to being sent down, whether it's by society or their own way of thinking. There's the reflective part of it, right? So what are you noticing about your reaction to this situation? So tuning into that internal, what's going on internally for the client that has been going on internally, but they've never tuned into it. They've never given space to it. They've never given words to it. Visualization. So we can really help our clients through doing some visualization, right? Having them close their eyes, taking deep breaths, having them, at the beginning of a session, when you're ready, as Rita says, when you're ready to, what is it you say, get in the driver's seat? When you're ready to set aside your struggles from today and get in the driver's seat or steer the session or, whatever, that's giving them that clear visual, like, okay, this is about me. This is not about my coach. This isn't about my spouse. This isn't about my kids. It's about me and what I need to focus on. But also, sometimes if a client is stuck, visualization work is great. Again, closing the eyes, taking some deep breaths, asking them, what do you see? I don't really see anything. Okay. Take some more breaths. What do you feel? Well, they're going to be feeling, if they don't see something, you're feeling something, right? If you see something, you might not. So start asking questions that are engaging all of the senses, whether it's what are you seeing, feeling, hearing, and then going, what do you want to see, hear, feel? What do you want this to look like? In a perfect world, what would this outcome look like? So really, when clients are able to shut their eyes and really focus, sometimes these answers come out of them that really shock themselves. And then just being really mindful. It helps our clients be mindful of awarenesses that they're having, to tune into their emotions or like the physical sensations in their day-to-day. So again, like we want to be, in a sense, just working our way out of a job because we want to give these tools to our clients. And if we properly are giving and teaching these tools to our clients, they're going to go forward in life and they're going to teach these tools to their kids or to their coworkers or to their partner. And that's going to change more lives and more lives and more lives, right? So if you reach one, you reach so many more, you reach many. And that's why it's so important, and this is off topic, but that is why it is so important to be very focused on your niche. Because if you're not very focused on your niche, that's when we try to reach everyone. But if we're very focused on our niche and going after that one particular type of person, we reach them, then they reach two, then those two reach two, we've now reached, 6, like on and on and on. And by focusing so specifically on one type of person, then yeah, you're going to reach other people too, but at least you're really focused here. Okay. So we want to teach these things to our clients. We want them to add these things to their toolbox. If we can get people in the world to start adding these kinds of things into their toolbox, we will hopefully be creating better generations. So here are some more questions that you can use. What values are you honoring in your life right now? And here's which ones are you suppressing? When do you feel most aligned with your goals? I think a more transformative one is like, when do you feel most aligned with yourself? When do you feel most aligned with your emotions or your partner or your family or your job, right? How does your current response to this challenge align with your long-term vision? Or, yeah, I won't even try to go deeper there. What does your reaction to this feedback tell you about your priorities? Can you identify the belief that is influencing this decision? That's a big one. That'll get you big scores on the competencies. So this is what we want to avoid doing, okay, when we're using our 20% of the time that we get to speak as coaches. These are we want to be focusing on our powerful questions, and these are reflecting back to clients. These are the things we don't want to be doing. We want to be not creating solution-oriented questions. So those are close-ended questions, or they are questions that have or in them. So would you like to then go to the beach or go to the hotel? When really they might want to sit under a tree and read, but we didn't ask that. We asked an or question, and we're choosing them to pick instead of what would you like to do right now? I want to sit under a tree and read. We don't want to rapidly fire questions. And this is really easy to do when you're first coaching because it's weird to throw out questions like this. And sometimes it's just hard to formulate them. So unintentionally, it's like we ask our clients a question, and then as soon as we like throw it out there into the universe, our brain quickly goes, oh, I could have asked that better. And so then you throw out that question reformulated with a better question, like kind of improving upon it. Now all of a sudden you've thrown out 2, which turn out to be great questions, but your client's just going to pick from one. And now you've lost the other one. We don't want to ramble before we ask a question. So what happens here where I see this is when coaches try to explain the question they're about to ask. So earlier you said that And then as a coach, we go into like a 2 or 3 question explanation and then ask the question. And you know, you can understand why that happens, because if it's a question that really does relate back to something they said 5 or 10 minutes ago, you don't want to think that you're just like off your rocker. Well, one, they're not going to think that because they already told you that thing 10 minutes ago. So it is somewhere in their head, whether it's in the forefront or the back front, it's in there. But if you do feel like it's a little bit out of left field, just simply saying, you know, going back to our coaching agreement or going back to your past experience, right? Just a simple phrase and then asking the question. That's it. So we're not saying you can't qualify or you can't remind them of where the question is coming from. What we don't want to do is qualify the question. So when we ramble, we're trying to qualify it. We're trying to give it meaning before we ever say it. Well, it's, you know, it's going to have meaning. Well, you don't want to do rhetorical questions. So these are, you know, when we come off judgy, or they can sound preachy, and that's just going to lead to our client really shutting down. You know, so we want to really work on not asking the expected questions, even if it is open-ended and powerful. If it's one that's asked very regularly in our society, then don't ask it. Try to stay away from that one. We don't want to ask leading questions. So we don't, again, want to guide our client to a specific answer. We don't want to interrupt. Right, we've talked about that already. We don't want to interrupt, and that's so if we leave that silence, then that interrupting is going to be way less likely. We don't want to ask why. Asking why, no matter how you ask it, comes across as opinionated and judgy and or preachy. You know, why did you come to that decision? I mean, because, you know, instead of what led you to that decision? Oh, well, right? Big difference when you take out the word why. And you can easily replace the word with why with what or how. Why did you make that decision? How did you come to that decision? What led you to this decision? Why are you doing it that way? No, I can throw that in there. How do you usually go about doing these things? Or how have you done these things in the past? What from your past led you to do things this way? And we don't want to disguise a question. Okay, so these are suggestions disguised as a question. So they're really unhelpful and unwanted. And, you know, just because you can throw one of the star 5 in front of it, if it's a suggestion, doesn't necessarily mean it's the right question to ask. We're just disguising our opinion in a question. And that's not fair, and that's not true. So instead of using these questions, it's more beneficial to use the open-ended, powerful questions that are going to encourage the client to reflect on what they're saying, to own what they're saying, to feel what they're saying, to think about things from a totally different perspective. And this is where, as coaches, we want to really use our intuition. You know, when you look at the vast majority of coaches and people that come to the coaching profession, usually we already have a strong intuition and we're able to lean on that. We have discernment or that gut feeling. And people that have that gut feeling and have that, but don't know necessarily how to use that, it will grow in them as they become coaches, as they work on their coaching skills. Those of us that have it and tune into it now we're going to tune into it on a much deeper level than we ever thought possible before. And how we grow in that, whether we're beginning or we're in the middle of all this, is by trusting it, right? You get that gut feeling that, you know, they're not saying this, but I'm sensing this is going on. And then you ask a powerful question around this, and the client is flabbergasted by your wise questioning. You go, oh, that intuition was right. That gut feeling was right. So then you try it again the next time. So the more times that you tune in and use your gut to ask some questions that might feel really uncomfortable asking, that's usually what it is, right? When we go with our intuition, we go with our gut feeling, when we use our discernment to question someone, it feels uncomfortable. But by us asking the uncomfortable questions, that's what leads to transformation for our clients. And actually, that's what they're paying us for. Like, they don't realize it, right? They don't realize all the things that we give them as coaches that are helping them change. So this is one of these like cool under the radar things that they're paying us for. And they walk away going, I don't know how she does it, but every session I leave with a brand new thought about myself or the world or my parenting or my career or whatever it is. And really, we're just asking powerful questions and listening to your gut. So this is how our emotional intelligence plays into this, which I was kind of getting at. So it helps us tailor our questions. So we base the questions on the emotional cues that we're getting from the client. So if we're seeing frustration, we might want to ask, you know, what about this situation is causing frustration for you? They might not realize that they're feeling frustrated, but we're seeing it all over them. It's helping us, like I was just saying, probe beneath the surface. So a lot of times when coaches are starting out and they're like, you keep telling us to ask questions about feelings and emotions and, you know, poke the bear there. It's like, yeah, ask any question that digs under that emotion, that goes below the surface, that makes them look that emotion in the face. It helps us challenge their assumptions. So what might be possible if you believed in your ability to succeed? Whoa. Christine, what might be possible if you believed fully right now that you would accomplish and all the things that you need to with your clients before the beginning of November?
I would be in action and I wouldn't be fearful.
Yeah. You'd be like, okay, I can do this.
Yeah. Yeah, it would change a lot.
You can. You can.
Well, yeah, but
that's why I'm asking you that. But yes, I know it's a really good question, right?
But there's a really good answer though, too. I mean, when you think about it,
yeah.
I mean, that one question evokes the awareness that fear is the driving force.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And what fear is the driving force for you right now?
Hmm?
What fear
all
is
sorts
the driving
all
force?
sorts of them for me, but I overcome those by the EQ test that we did. And
yeah,
you know, because it's funny, on my EQ test, there's one area, my lowest area, would be belief in self. And my highest area is the ability to pivot and change quickly. And so it's funny because all through my life, with everything I've ever tried to do, I've had this intense fear and insecurity and imposter syndrome. But that other side of me, that other piece,
pivoting,
of emotional awareness and pivoting and course correcting and all of that, gets me through it. So really, my highest area supports my lowest area.
Oh, that's really cool. Makes me want to go back and look at mine in a new light. I'm actually
So
writing a sticky note to myself.
Yeah, it just made me realize, because I mean, a lot of
Mhm.
times in the past, I would think, well, you've done this business this successfully and this one and this one. And, you
Mhm.
know, this one was like a mass success. It was crazy. And you didn't even know how to do it to begin with. And I just had
Yeah.
to learn as I went. And then I realized I didn't realize until I did that EQ test
Mm.
why I managed to
Yeah.
overcome those things. So it's, yeah,
That's
it's
cool.
interesting.
Well, let's look at the activity here on page 5. So we have some scenarios, and let's try to come up with some questions that we could ask this particular client. So the first client scenario is helping them align personal and professional goals. So you've got that client that's struggling to balance their career aspirations with their personal commitments and wellness. We all know this. They have recently been offered a promotion, but it conflicts with their desire for more personal time. The client is feeling overwhelmed and uncertain about which path to pursue. What are some powerful questions that we could ask them to kind of poke the bear, get in there? I think a simple starting one would be, what are you feeling the most uncertain about?
Hmm.
It's interesting when we say things like we're overwhelmed or we're uncertain. When we say them, it's like this really big, ambiguous thing. But when we narrow down what's the one overwhelming thing, or what's the, 2 things I'm uncertain about, all of a sudden this huge cloud that is just hanging over us and stopping us from moving forward, like dissipates. We like pop it like a balloon, and it's like, oh, okay, it's this, or it's these 2 things. Oh, okay, I can work on that. And then all of a sudden the rest kind of, the light starts shining on it. Otherwise, it's all in that balloon, in that darkness.
I think I'd also be asking, what's one positive outcome that you could
Mm-hmm.
see
Yeah,
about?
perfect. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think it's great that you went with what's a positive outcome. Doesn't mean we don't ask like what would be a negative outcome, because sometimes it is powerful to ask a client like what's the worst thing that could happen? Because
Well,
then
I
again, it
originally
might just be
thought of
one
that.
thing. Yeah.
That was my actual first thought, was asking them, what's the worst
Mm-hmm.
that could happen? But then I thought, well, I think I need to reframe that, because that's what they're freaking out about, is what's the
Right.
worst that could happen. And I don't really want to
Mm-hmm.
capitalize on that
Right.
negative, and have them run away with that during the
Correct.
session. So that's
Yeah.
why I just kind of changed it to what's one positive
Yeah.
outcome.
No, and I think that's great because that's what we want to do in a really ambivalent situation. Like we just have this generic scenario, right?
Mhm.
Like you want to really know the scenario and the client and like maybe the one thing that they're afraid of. um, well, I might just make too much money. Oh, darn it. I might get out of debt. Oh, poo. How's that going to make you feel? Right? Like you want to make sure you really know what the answer is going to be when you ask that question. So it was really good that you flipped it to a positive there. Um, I think going back up here and just, look at, oh yeah, go Rita.
I think a question that I would ask is, towards which one are you gravitating most?
Yeah, that is a good one. Because they're gravitating for a reason, right? It could be bad, it could be good. Right. And like the negative might be, well, I'm gravitating towards to the job. Okay. What's pulling you towards the job and away from yourself? I mean, parents have just always wanted me to be successful. So if I take this promotion, then I'm making my parents happy. Right.
And I think I'd want to know, I don't know how to word it. If they desire more personal time, what's the pull towards the job?
Yeah.
I'd want to know that.
And this is a great illustration of if in a previous session or over the sessions, your client has mentioned a lot, like they need more personal time. They need to build in more time for themselves. So you get to this session and they talk about this promotion, but maybe they're not touching on this fact that they're continually trying to get more personal time, right? So then, okay, how does this tie in to getting more time for yourself? Or how does this align with this desire to get more time for yourself? Right. So connecting the dots in sessions where you have continually seen this pattern and this desire, and they're not even seeing it or bringing it into the session as you ask questions as coaches, and we want to go back and we want to bring that into the session. That is going to facilitate massive growth and motivation. Because usually, like in something like this, if that's something they're not considering, but they've been bringing it up, all of a sudden they put it in light of this really big desire that they have, having more time for themselves, becoming more healthy and well-rounded as a person. It might quickly answer the promotion's not worth it.
Yeah, and I think depending on the age, what the person is, could be if you have to fast forward, have a conversation with yourself on a bench, what would you say to yourself?
Yeah. Okay, let's look at the second scenario, overcoming limiting beliefs. So a client has expressed a strong desire to start their own business, but is held back by a fear of failure and self-doubt. They have the skills and the opportunity, but are hesitant to take the necessary steps due to this belief that they might not be entrepreneurial, that's a big word, enough to succeed.
Well, I think if they know that they have these I wonder if they recognize that they have the skills or not, or this fear of failures there, or self-doubts there. I would want to know that first of all.
Correct. Yeah.
But I think I'd be asking them, what do you need to learn to succeed?
Oh, that's great.
Or maybe what makes you different from others who have succeeded with little experience in the industry?
Yeah, that's really good.
I think I'd also ask them if they have the skills, where does that belief originate from?
Yeah. Where does that belief? Where does your belief of failure originate from? And I think that, that simple, quote unquote, simple question of what will it mean for you to have succeeded or, to create a successful business? Get some motivation in there.
I wonder if it's relevant to ask, what does faith mean
Mhm.
to this person? What does it look like?
Yeah, no, that's good. Right? They might not even know in general what success means for themselves, or what are they envisioning a successful business to look like?
What are questions you would think of, Holly?
Yeah, you guys are like nailing it on this one. I'm like looking here going, I think asking them, like going back to that strong desire, where does the strong desire come from? Because maybe going back to that passion and that desire is what they need. Pulling that back up in themselves might be a good motivator. I think what's great about you all is that as we've been looking at these scenarios, you guys have been asking very, I mean, great, powerful questions. But you're really starting with like some good basic kind of questions. You're not making any assumptions. You're really like looking at what we have with the scenario and how could you just even start to dig in with this person. Right. So if we're assuming, you could be assuming far down the line and ask questions there. But you're thinking about, okay, where does the fear come from? What has made you, not feel, or, where have you been successful? Where do these things originate from? Kind of thing. Does that make sense what I'm trying to say? Okay.
Yeah. I
So I
think
don't
I
feel like that.
find these type of questions really difficult to answer.
Yeah,
And I
they
think
are.
for me, I find it really difficult because I'm really trying to focus on my questions originating from what
Mhm.
my client has said to me and
Yeah.
active listening and forming
Mhm.
those questions as we go. That's a
Yeah.
huge focus for me this time around in this course.
Yeah.
And I find this activity kind of does the exact opposite. And I keep feeling like, well, I don't have enough information to know what I'm going to ask them because they haven't even answered the last question yet.
Right. Yeah. But then it's good because it's making you come up with questions that would be starting places. But no, I 100% get what you're saying. Yeah.
A question that comes up for me a lot in these instances is, oh golly, I don't know how to say this in English.
German?
Ek sou jy graag wou. Who would you like the most? Give you a phone call and say, I'm proud of you.
It's really good.
What would your future self say to you?
Yeah.
What would that successful person say to you?
Yeah. Okay, so let's go to just the first point here under group sharing. In y'all's experience, have you found there to be a powerful question that you kind of have developed for your clientele that you go to?
No.
So, for example, a question that I always go to when I am like interviewing a new client, and I like to help them see and I like to help them feel the need for a coach, is to ask that, first and foremost, I like to ask new people like what are the top 3 things you're looking to overcome in your life, kind of thing, right? But the next question, the humdinger, is what is it costing you to not having had achieved those things? Oh. And at times in sessions when especially when I just like want to grab the client and you just want them to see in themselves they can do this. Whatever, I like to fall back on that. What are you tolerating? Or, they're struggling with boundaries. What's it costing you? I really like the hard self-reflective questions.
What was the second one you said? What's it's costing you, but the second one?
What are you tolerating?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, cost, tolerating, those kinds of words.
Okay. I don't have one yet because I'm not working with any clients right now.
Yeah.
But I might be borrowing a couple of those.
Go for it. Well, let's look at these, last 2 pages are just, or 2 pages are just filled with great, powerful questions. So let's look at each section. So it's breaking down, walking a client through a coaching session, hitting our core competencies. There's questions for each core competency. So let's so first we've got structuring the agreement. What, if any, question jumps out for you in these 2, 4, 6, 8 questions that are listed? And it might be one you already use or know.
Yeah, this one, what would need to happen in this session for you to feel it was a breakthrough?
Yeah.
These are so good.
I know.
And for me, I feel like this is where I'm currently challenged. I mean, I won't always be, but because I'm out of practice coaching and whatnot,
Yeah.
I feel like I've lost that powerful questioning ability that I have to reflex that muscle after I have more
Right. Yeah.
practice coaching and learn more. But these are pretty impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it's so true. Like I remember learning coaching and I'm like, it'll come naturally to you after time. And you're like, how? But then it just kind of does. And it does, like you're saying, become a muscle. And I love that you're thinking about it as I just need to retrain that muscle.
Yeah, because it used to be where when I would have coaching sessions, they would just be so easy. It would just feel like, it was so easy to have these awarenesses for my client and no
Yeah.
issues. And now I feel like it's strenuous for me to think of questions that are going to bring about change in
Yeah.
their thought processes.
Yeah.
And I also think that's going to come, and I keep saying it and not doing it. It's going to come with coaching more. And that's why I can't wait to get rid of my job.
And it's coming.
I'm just too busy right now, and it's
I know.
problematic. And it's interesting because I didn't realize how busy I was till I started doing this course. So
Ironic,
just the
isn't it?
course has brought awareness for me.
Yeah. Okay, let's look at engagement and exploration. Is there a question here that pops out?
For me, how does this situation reflect your patterns? Because
I like the one.
for me, yeah, we're very habitual creatures, aren't we? So I think becoming aware of your pattern and then getting strategies how to slowly kick them to the curb and introducing new patterns. Yeah.
Yeah. I really like though what resources do you already have that could help you in this situation? Just because I find it joyfully funny when we're stuck in a situation and we're like missing what's right in front of us. And it seems like sometimes it's the resources that we can tap into are like what is right in front of us and we don't see it because it's right in front of us, because it is our best friend's dad who is in some line of publishing and I'm working on publishing a book, but I never would have, I don't think about my best friend's dad as in the publishing business. I just think of him as Jim, who takes us for ice cream or whatever, like when I was younger, right? Like we see certain people and certain situations just in that light, and we don't like tap into them. And I guess I've just seen that happen a lot for me in my life. It's like, it feels like a big blonde moment. Okay, what about active listening and reflection?
In what ways does this belief serve you, and in what ways might it hinder you?
Yeah.
That's the big ticket one for me.
I really love, what do you notice about your energy or your enthusiasm as we discuss this?
And about the current approach being influenced by past experiences.
Yeah. That's vital, huh? Okay, awareness generation.
How do these insights align with the values you hold important?
Mm-hmm. I like, can you pinpoint that moment that you became aware of the situation or this issue? I think a lot of times when we can go back to the beginning, there's a lot of insight there.
Yeah, for me, what have you discovered about yourself?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because the thing I love about that question, especially like if it's something we ask at the end, if it's like our ending question, like, what was something you discovered about yourself today? What's so interesting about it is as coaches, we're listening and taking in the session, right? And we might be thinking, oh my gosh, this was a crazy, huge awareness. This is going to transform their life. And then we asked them, what's the biggest thing you discovered about yourself today? And it was like, I like the color green. Oh, okay. Right. Like we just don't know what, doesn't mean they're not aware of like the one we might have thought was the biggest and whatever. But just getting into their brains, because getting into someone else's brain is really intriguing because we're only in our brains. So seeing it or hearing it from their perspective, I always just think is really cool and funny. You're like, oh, that's not what I expected at all. Okay, challenging and encouraging.
What's the most courageous step you could take right now? And how would you advise a friend?
Yeah.
Because we always advise them completely different than we do ourselves.
I know. Where have you demonstrated resilience in the past that you can tap into now?
And it's not on here, but I think one of my favorites is and I just lost it. Oh my gosh.
Resilience, tap into, say to a friend, say to yourself.
It was about a friend and I just lost it. How would you advise someone you love the most?
Yeah.
Because I find like when I've been asked that question in coaching, and it's always my son, right, who I love the most, and how I would advise him is like,
yeah,
it's such a realization how differently I treat him than I treat myself.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to patience and understanding. And I find for me, that's probably one of the most powerful questions I can be asked every single time.
Yeah. Let's look at action planning. My go-to with action planning, sometimes we look at action planning or our clients look at action planning as taking really big steps, and that's fearful. And or we miss a small step that was so crucial that it's going to like might hinder things in the future. So I really like any kind of question that makes it more bite size, right? So what small action can you take? What especially if it is a very emotionally driven kind of session. So it's not like they're going to walk away and be like, yeah, I'm going to, raise $5,000 this week and I'm going to, it's more appropriate to ask, okay, what are 2 baby steps that you can, or just 1 baby step, 3 baby steps that you can take this week? And when we say it in the term of small action, baby steps, bite-sized pieces, it really helps our clients look at things in a realistic way. Because I myself look at things in the big picture and then I get overwhelmed. So when someone says to me something bite-sized, small, baby steps, it's like, okay, take a deep breath, Holly. Like, yeah.
One thing that I also noticed in that transformational coach, he uses the word experiment. Right.
Yeah.
The same question that you said, what are you willing to experiment with this week?
That was really good. Yeah, that takes a lot of pressure off. It's just an experiment.
And one thing that comes up for me right now is the question here, how will you keep track of your progress in a way that motivates you? That one is one that's really comes up for me. And I realize, why are all these questions, why do the ones that I'm saying stand out for me? Why do they stand out to me? Well, it's because that's what would work for me in a coaching session, really.
Yeah, that's great. That's fine.
Well, I suppose, but I also think to myself, I mean, if it would work for me, it would work for others, but it also lets me realize, like somebody else is a completely different person than me. What would work for me wouldn't work for them. And it's really important to have a whole host of questions that come up for us that really is something that would touch that person's experience or awareness or whatever it may be.
Yeah. But I think that the positive of it is that we usually go into a coaching niche where we're in an area where we wished we would have had a coach when we were in that situation. Therefore, the questions that jump out of at us are questions that we need, but are also questions we wish someone would have asked us back then.
Yeah, that's true, because typically when we have a niche, it's a niche where we have struggled but have now created success. And so we have some keys, right? Some keys and some knowledge there about how to create that success that we can help other people. We can help other people to get to that by these questions that we're asking. And you are right. They probably are a lot of the same challenges that we would be having. Yeah, that's a really good point. Thank you for sharing that.
Because then they're like, oh, she's so wise. I don't know. She just helped. And it's like, oh, love.
No.
I just went through this and I didn't have a coach. So let me gift you the things I've learned in a question form.
Let me save you from the 10 years
of
all the wrong ways to do it.
The 45 hours of counseling I paid for to overcome this one thing in my life.
Yes.
Okay. Let's take a break. And if you haven't look through the client support questions and the closing session questions. I think all of these are really great. And I think, pulling a few of your top ones from your list and using them with your ideal client or as you're interviewing a client. Like I said, I use the ones that really make me go, use those. Right. And see if they work or not. Right. So they might not. So you go, oh, I'm going to do this one instead. But, pull out some of the really strong ones for you and just even start using them on one another in sessions.
I have a couple questions. Is that okay, quick?
That is great. Yeah.
Number one, I forget, how much peer coaching do Rita and I, if you know this, need to do outside of our classes for this course?
That is a good question. I'm not sure.
Okay, I'm gonna ask Cheryl. I'll message her and ask her.
Okay. Yeah, because like you do a lot of it, but I don't know what the specific like
Okay.
number is for getting that
Okay, because we
certification.
haven't been doing that, and
Mm.
I have forgotten about it actually, and I just thought of it
Okay.
today. And the other thing, one thing I think that would be really helpful for me is to
Hmm.
hear a whole bunch more PCC coaching sessions.
Okay.
A
Since you're
lot of
doing
them.
so many. Yeah.
Well, just because you see, right now it's like, no offense, Rita, it's like the blind leading the blind, right? Like
Right.
her and I are learning on each other. But if
Correct.
I want to hear somebody, I want to
Hmm.
hear somebody who's already established at a PCC level, and I want to hear a lot of it. I want to learn from those
Yeah.
coaching sessions. So where would
Right.
I hear 15 or 20 different coaching sessions to be able to go and check all that out and learn from
Okay.
those people and what they're doing?
No, I think that's a great question. Yeah.
So I don't know if you know of a place where that can be done.
I know that she pulls them from a place that we use when you guys are first starting and you listen. I'm not, and so they're like in our instructor like files that we can like pull from. I'm not sure where she actually pulls them from. So I think that's a great question. I would love to know the answer to that too.
Yeah, because I'd like to be able to listen to them and,
Yep.
think like, oh, wow, that was, I mean, I'm going to get awareness as a coach from
Hmm.
listening to other coaches who are
Right.
outstanding coach, who are the coach that I want to become.
Yeah. And you'll hear great new questions and different
Hmm.
different angles to ask things
Hmm.
from that you haven't thought of. Yeah, no, I totally agree.
Yeah, because we had that, I think, in our first couple
Yeah.
sessions, but
Hmm.
I'd like more.
Yeah.
So, anyways, thank you.
No, that's great. Yeah. Let's come back at about quarter till, so about 11 minutes,
Okay.
and we'll jump into a session.
Okay.
Okay. I don't want to leave. I just want to disappear. So Rita, let's have you, do you have the core competency, like follow along sheet or ability to pull it up?
Yeah, I do actually have a print.
No, I'm not giving you permission to give feedback in the sense of right and wrong. But competency 7, evoking awarenesses, there's 8 points, like there's 8 different things to do. So as you're listening to the session, find 2 of the 8 points where she like nails it with like a really good question or one that jumps out, or so looking for where she taps into evoking my awarenesses about whatever we're going to talk about. Okay. So it is, we'll say 10 to the hour. So you'll have until 20 after the hour-ish.
Ish.
If it takes a minute or 2 or 3 more to like end the session well and feel good about it, I would rather you do that than rush. So I'm going to pin you so I just see you.
I should also take a, oh no, I have you and I after this. I was going to say I should look at my work calendar, make sure I don't have a meeting right after this, but we don't, because I have you right after this.
Yes.
So we're good.
Okay, so whenever you're ready.
Perfect. Sounds good. Well, thanks for being here, Holly. And how prepared do you feel for our session today?
I don't really feel prepared for life at all right now, because I feel like I said last night to my fiance, like, I have so many balls in the air, and it was like a really stupid ball that I like let drop, and I was like, and it might only be like 3 balls, but they're like exercise balls. So how can I like keep yeah. So I don't know if prepared is a word I would use for my brain right now.
Okay. What do you feel right now that you need to be present for this session to get the work done we need to get done?
Probably let me close my eyes and take a few breaths and kind of let go. So okay. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, you look a little more relaxed and ready for this. Okay, so I just want to remind you that this is a judgment-free zone. I'm going to take a few notes here. If you see me looking down, I'm still with you and present with you. Okay, just taking a few notes. So what is it that you would like to have different after today's session?
That I don't feel like I don't know how to be in a relationship, like a married relationship, or like a intent, like we're getting married. So like in that sense, like I don't know how to be, I don't know how to have a like a married relationship, or just the relationship with John.
I'm not sure I understand what you're asking.
Yeah.
Maybe I want to be really clear, but I don't think I understand what you mean. Maybe you could
Yeah.
share that with me again, and I'll try to comprehend what you're saying
Okay.
better.
So real quick background. He was married for almost 20 years. I was married for 7 months and he had an affair and left me. So yes, I've been in a relationship, but I do not think it counts. I'm 48, and I've just done life as a single woman, a lot of life, you know. So that makes me feel like a lot of times I don't know what's ahead, or I don't, like John would ask me, how do you fight? What does it look like when Holly fights? I don't know. I mean, you don't know. I I really don't know. Like, I fight with people, but I haven't had somewhere like where I've consistently fought to tell you, well, this is my go-to. This is what I need, you know, to like work on. This is how to handle me, or so I kind of feel that like in a big ball going into this marriage that in some weird way we're not like, I guess, yeah, I really feel like we're not equals in what we know going into our marriage.
Okay. So I'm hearing that what I'm hearing you say is you feel that he is so much more experienced at this marriage thing than you are.
Yes.
Um, I got that part. What I'm not clear about is, what do you want to take away from the session?
That it doesn't matter that he has these years, because his years weren't good either. So just, I guess not the oh, what's the word we said? I mean, you just talking about earlier today. Ah, this imposter syndrome that like I don't know how to be in a relationship. Like I hear myself say that, and that's a really crazy, stupid thing to say, Holly, but it's what I feel. I would like to, I don't know if eliminate is the proper word for us one session, but bring it down a notch or two, feel more confident in what I am bringing relationship wise to the table.
Okay. So I'm hearing you say that you want to minimize some of the hang up that you have regarding your feeling that you may be kind of inept in the relationship slash marriage area. How accurate would that be?
That's a good, yeah. Inept, inadequate. Those are good. Those are the words I couldn't think of.
Okay. All right. And so right now, let's put this maybe on a scale of 1 to 10. Right now, how inept would you say that you feel on that scale?
I would say like on a day to day, when I stop and think about it, it's like I'm a 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
How close does that match with where you feel right now in this session?
Oh, wait, ask your question again. Did you ask where I am or where I want to be? Sorry.
Where you're at right now on that scale of
Okay.
how inept you feel.
I feel like I'm more at a 4 is what I should say, like in the negative sense. Like I'm below a 5. And I would like to be, in fairness, in a short session, like a 6, even a 5, just moving up.
So I'm hearing then, I think we're looking at maybe the scale a little differently.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like, wait a second here.
Okay.
So I'm hearing the scale to be where with with how inept you feel, you are currently at a 4.
Yeah.
And you would like to, and less inept would mean you are at a 6.
Correct.
Okay.
So if 10 was like, I'm great going into the marriage, and 4 is
Okay.
like, just feeling wise, not with John, not questioning any of that. Let me clarify that. Okay.
Yeah. Just,
and
just
we do
personally.
have premarital counseling. So I will say, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So then by the time we're done our session, you want to be at a 6 on that scale.
Ideally. Yes.
Okay. Gotcha. So let's say you reach the 6 by the end of the session.
Yeah.
How's that going to impact your day-to-day?
Well, I think just like for the next few days, as we're like packing up the rest of my house and, finalizing the move. I mean, the marriage is like getting actually married is its own thing and feelings, but like when I think about what's to come in the next week, literally, that a lot of like these kinds of things might arise, because of, frustrations maybe from packing, or we're tired because we're both working full time and wrapping this up. And, there's a lot of balls in the air. And so I'm not, I just want to feel more, I just want to feel more positive, like going into this next week. And I usually am a very like positive person, but there's just like this tiny, tiny bit of dread in me. Yeah.
So would you say
Please
that the
don't tell John
impact?
I said that. Please don't. He's so lovely.
I don't know him. You're safe. I don't
Yeah,
know him.
I know.
So would you say then the day-to-day impact would be emotional for you?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
It would take some, I guess, like unneeded stress I'm probably placing on myself.
Okay. Interesting. So inept. If you were not inept as a wife, what would that look like?
Well, I feel like, but this isn't like really fully answering the question, but I feel like I would feel more empowered to show up for John and like the ways that he needs me to show up. Am I going to be 100% great at that? No, but just feeling more empowered to just kind of maybe enter into situations with more confidence, or asking some questions first instead of letting him ask things.
How do you feel that what you're describing right now affects your relationship with him?
Kind of a complicated answer, only because his ex was so emotionally abusive. So in some ways, like just showing up is wonderful for him. But I don't want to be like subpar. So what was your question again? How will it affect showing up in a perfect world?
Well, how does showing up, you're talking about how you're struggling to show up. How would that affect your relationship with him?
I think it would give him more confidence in himself, which then in turn would also build me up as a person. Not that he's not building me up, but I think it would just make us a stronger team in marriage and in the ways we can impact the world together.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I heard you mention earlier about being married for 7 months and how he left you.
Mm-hmm.
How much of your relationships and the outcome of your relationships do you take on solely on your own?
You mean the outcome of them? Or
the journey or the outcome?
You mean the after effects or like as they were going on?
Either or. How much do you take on solely? How much responsibility solely do you take
I see
on
what you're saying.
for the journey and the outcome of your relationships?
Oh, like really large amount for the good and the bad, but a really large amount. Yeah. Maybe because they never, unfortunately, have been like a true 50-50. Well, nobody's ever 50-50, but there's never been that like, oh, I'm a 40 and he's a 60 and I'm a 60 and he's a 40. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's never been like a balancing somewhat scale in the relationships that I've had. Yeah. So then that makes me, I don't know, always feel like take on a lot because I want it to be good. I want to make it work. That's the thing. I feel like before John, I was always in relationships that I felt like I needed to make work. And the beautiful thing with John is I don't feel like I need it to work. I just want it to work better and not bring my own insecurities that don't need to come into it, right? Like they're going to come. But the ones that maybe I can tackle and process ahead of time a little bit, then I don't need to bring those in. Yeah.
I'm hearing you say that things look differently with John than what they have looked in your past relationships.
Yeah.
So then where is this hang up that you've described originating from?
I think it's really just like looking, like if we had a resume, like under experience, John's got the quiet, he's downstairs with headphones in. And my experience is that when it comes to marriage, right? As far as communicating and living with, I've never lived with someone like, like cooking and like fully sharing the finances. Like that didn't even happen in the other marriage, come to find out, of course I found out a lot of crappy things afterwards. Right. So it's just like, when I say the 50-50, that's what I mean. Like I've just never really balanced, like shared life with someone. Yeah.
And if John's divorced, what makes his relationship in the past so successful in your eyes?
Well, yeah, I mean, it wasn't. It wasn't. It's not. I guess what's coming to mind for me, but this isn't my own self-aware. Anyways, what's coming to mind is for all the years that he knew it was bad and it was hurting him emotionally, that he chose to stay for his children, because if they divorced before the kids were out of high school, they would have gone to her, and she is not mentally stable. And so I look at that commitment level, and not that I'm questioning my commitment level at all, but yet I just see him more, I don't know, like experienced in like compromise, in putting someone else first, thinking about someone else's needs before their own, right? Like really being like a loving, serving spouse when that person needs it. And I like don't have that experience because I've been single. Like I haven't had to work on compromise. I haven't had to, I mean, I have, but you know what I mean, right? That's all. I haven't had to like, work on putting others first, like in a close way. I think I do in my, I'm definitely gifted that at my life, like in the bigger picture, but like in the same household, no. you know, so that's what I guess see as that difference.
And I'm hearing a lot of fear about if you're going to meet John's needs. Would that be accurate?
Yeah.
What's the best way to find out what John's needs are?
I mean, I know it's to ask him. And I guess I do, but obviously I need to do more. I feel like, yeah, shoot. We're on a recording call. I am taking on the responsibility. I want his needs were so never met and so minimized before that he just kind of became like a shell of a person just to get by and never voiced his own desires, or like down to like, what color do you want the pillows to be? What, because it would turn into a fight. And so like I hear these little things and it just breaks my heart. And he's so undeserving of that. Like he is such an amazing man. And I can speak really fully on his ex-marriage because we all worked together in Europe. We were work colleagues. So I saw like the breakdown of some things over the last 24 years. And so that breaks my heart for him. So it's like, I just want to anticipate not only like what some of his needs are, but it's like, I want to be able to like be so grandiose, so great at this that I like fixed his hurts from the past. There you go. And I'm not Wonder Woman. Yeah.
How do you feel when you're saying, I'm not Wonder Woman?
I mean, there is a relief on one side, but then there's like a shoot aspect of it. Like I wish I could be, but I'm not. I guess I just have to accept I'm not. And he's on his own. As much as I'm talking about like a life together with someone, he's still on his own journey and always will be, of healing and processing, and just like I am on, as a woman. And we're each becoming our own people separately, but then yet as a unit. So yeah. I also selfishly like just wanted him to forget everything about her. And I'm just so amazing. I get like that's the jealous side of me. And then I'm like, why am I jealous? That's so stupid. Horrible. But that's like the super, super honest, like really tiny spot inside of me.
I have to really commend you on that vulnerability that you're sharing. It's really hard to do that. I don't know if I'd be able to be quite so open. One thing I want to know is, what do you think John would say to you if he could hear the words coming out of your mouth in this session?
You would just say, I don't care what your past was, what your resume holds and doesn't hold. Like, I don't compare us. I just really deeply, deeply love you for all of you and your crazy and your fun and your struggles and anxieties. And he's just really happy with me. Yeah.
Knowing or believing that he feels that way, how are you on that scale?
Yeah. I mean, when I keep that at the forefront, I mean, then that just naturally does and should put and keep me at a 6. Because the one thing about our relationship that's so amazing is not only have we known each other for 24 years as friends, but we've known each other as work colleagues. And we did it in a cross-cultural environment in Europe and have some really crazy, cool, hard experiences that we've been through, whether it was at the same time, might not have been at the same time, but went through them, you know, adjusting to cultures and learning these really hard, icky things about yourself when you're in another culture and you're like, oh, I'm not grossly American. I thought I wasn't that grossly American, but I am. Die. Where was I going with that? Oh, like, so because we've been through those things and we've known each other for so long, like he knew what he was getting into with me. And and I mean that I don't really necessarily mean that in a bad way. There are some bad aspects of it, with the anxiety and depression that I really struggled with for 2 years when I moved back to the States. But he was actually in leadership over me, and he was the person I reported back to in that scenario, in that lifespan. And he went back and was reading emails where he would say, you know, can we talk this week? And I would say, oh, am I talking to friend John or leader John? And he would say, oh, just friend John. Okay, great. I'm free tomorrow. Or he'd say, you know, leader John, there's some leadership things. And I'd be like, oh, can we wait another week? Not in a good place. So like that aspect, but just my like silly, absurd, loud side of me. um, like he knew all that, like getting into it. Right. And so like I do surprise him, but not shock him. Does that make sense? Like there's surprise and joy and fun or understanding, and then there's like shock of like, what did I do? I don't think we have that. I think that's not in our relationship. It might come one
Mm-hmm.
day, but do you know what I mean? Just in the overall like relationship, because we've been
Mm-hmm.
through so much. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I just want to go back again quickly to knowing how John, or believing what John would say to you,
Mm-hmm.
um, and also adding on to that the fact that he chose you after this
Mm-hmm.
24-year relationship. Where would
Yeah.
that put you on this scale that we talked about at the beginning of the
Mm.
session?
Well, Diane, I'm like a freaking 8 because he could have had so many women.
Wow.
And
Okay.
it just, yeah. Not that I was fighting for him. That's a whole other, we don't need to go down that path, Holly. He's just such a wonderful, lovely guy, like just to know him and to know like the relationships he has with other people. And of course he knows that like single women and divorced women and um but yeah, not even yeah.
So at the beginning of our session, you had said you wanted to be at a 6, and you're saying right now you feel at an 8. Would that be correct? Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to take that one step farther because we talked about how you feel in this session, but how can you retain that
Yeah.
feeling outside of this session?
I think one, remembering that he chose me and um what he what he knows, what he loves about me, what he would say to me. And also the reminder that 24 years later, God brought us back together and saw fit for us to become a couple. And we always make this like joke, you always say like when you meet someone so great, you're like, where have you been all my life? Well, we look at each other and go, where have you been all my life? Oh, sitting next to you on a plane as we flew to Berlin, or I was the one helping you pick out your car when you first moved to Ireland. Oh, right, you were right there alongside me the whole freaking time. I just never once inappropriately thought of you. um, Thinking of that, like God was weaving our stories together in such a beautiful, unexpected way that how can I not like just trust in that? Like, how can I not trust God and trust that truth? I don't know why I can't, because I'm an overachieving woman, but I need to trust in that.
Okay. What small action can you take every day to stay mindful of the things you already know to keep you at an 8?
Well, right away, when I was saying I need to trust, I just thought of the verse, um, trust in the Lord with all your heart, and he will make um, your heart's desires come true, which really means he's weaving his desires into you. So by the time they become true, it's what you wanted anyways. But I need to be like repeating that verse in my head when the doubts come. I feel insecure, nervous, whatever the situation is. I think I need to pull that up as my little take some deep breaths, say this mantra a few times, say this verse a few times, and yeah.
Okay. Wonderful.
Yeah.
So how do you typically hold yourself accountable in a way that feels positive for you to continue this moving forward?
When it comes to like verses I feel like I need to focus on, I take a dry erase marker and I write it on at least one mirrored surface, usually my bathroom mirror that I look at every day while I'm getting ready. So that even if I'm either consciously reading it or I'm subconsciously reading it. So it's getting into me as a reminder when I'm starting my day and when I'm going to bed.
Okay. And
Yeah.
when do you plan on writing that?
Today, this afternoon.
Do you have a
We'll put it
specific
on there.
time in mind?
Well, I have another meeting after this class. And then I have to run to the post office and change my address. And then when I come home.
Okay.
So it will 100% be
Wonderful.
done before he's done with work today.
Okay. Wonderful. All right. So I'm in closing our session here.
Mm-hmm.
When we started, you wanted to, what you said was release the hang up of relationship ineptness. You wanted to get from a you wanted to get from a 4 to a 6. How would you say we did with that goal today?
Yeah, I think I kicked it out of the park. Thanks.
It
I
was
think we
all
did
you.
really good. I know.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
It was all you.
Yeah.
Okay. So how would you like to close the session?
I just like that we're closing with a really happy heart thought. Like it feels really nice to have started one way and end another.
Oh, that's great. I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thanks for being here and sharing of yourself
Yeah.
today.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. And that's a wrap, folks.
So I just want to say, as a client, whenever I'm going to a session, I fully go in as a client. Like I don't think about. I was laughing about the times like I found my own mind wandering and going, I don't know what she just asked me, but that's the answer that came out of me. So just remember when you're coaching someone that they're in their own head. They're not evaluating you if you are showing up and doing your job to the best of your ability in that moment. So Rita, where did you see Christine exhibiting competency 7?
Okay, so I made the headings quickly for me. So in current thinking, I think it was really great when she brought you back with the question, would you say it's an emotional day to day? I just made a little note. Sorry if it's not paraphrasing perfectly.
Yeah.
It's good to bring the emotion back to day.
Mm-hmm.
Then I think, looking differently at the relationship with John, again, the current thinking was really cleverly asked about where is the hang up. I thought also what was very relevant to me for current thinking was when she said, I want to commend you on the current thinking. And then also the way that she managed to bring in the scale with the words knowing and believing that, etc. And bringing in the scale, it was just bringing back the current thinking. So I think there were beautifully woven moments of bringing us into the current thinking.
Yeah.
Then the next competency is beyond the current, looking at the who. And I think that was really just amazing to watch, especially when she helped with or started with the agreement. And if you were not in it, what would that look like? It was beyond the current who question, absolutely.
Yeah.
Also, a very impactful question was, how do you feel it impacts now? It in the flow of the session, it definitely invited to look at the almost the past and the travel at but where are we now, which I think highlighted the current or the traveling of the who and going beyond. And then also amazingly done is how do you keep yourself accountable in a positive way? Because it almost invites your client to keep on this new discovery and keeping open, going beyond the current who, which I put the question in there. Is this constructive feedback?
No, I think it's brilliant. It's kind of fun to listen to it as the person who sat through it too. To be like, oh yeah, that was.
Is this helpful for you, Christine?
Yes.
Okay. Then the next marker is beyond the current, but the what, looking at the what. And there was really also, it was this beautiful dance between the current and beyond the current, and inviting your client to keep journeying beyond just the session. So for me, it was great when she asked, but how is that going to impact the day to day? And it was the thinking beyond. It was a future question, which I thought was really relevant. Sure, something that I felt was really a difficult question that you executed amazingly was when you said, well, John had this divorce. And what does this, or what makes his relationship successful to you?
That
was
was
definitely thinking beyond the current, because the current thinking was, but he's got more experience than I do. And you invited to kind of think beyond the experience on the CV in a way. Also, again, inviting to keep on journeying with the new what, your question, how can you retain the feeling of a? Well, also definitely journeying with the feeling of eight and keeping it grounded for her. Then the other marker, beyond current thinking, feeling, or behaviors, I kind of repeated John was, divorced, so the relationship wasn't really successful. That whole journey of how do we assess the CV and the successful marriage. Oh, very clever. What's the best way to find out what John's needs are?
It's always such a basic question, isn't it? But it's like the hardest basic question.
Yeah, definitely. It just stretched you to go beyond your current thinking and feeling and behavior.
Yeah.
Okay. The next one she says, how do you introduce observation, intuition, and comments and invite the client? Which I felt was a big one for them. And I think that in using the word inept, using the word minimize, and asking them how accurate was very interesting. And then I read something on one of the markers of Coach Cheryl, and she says review the examples of a feedback marker 4.4. Immediately invite the client to respond or explore with the evocative question rather than checking for accuracy. And that kind of sparked something for me. And then I went to 4.4, and she says here, and I thought you're going to enjoy this. The coach sometimes indirectly invites the client to respond in any way with the question, is that correct? This can suggest that the coach's attention is on her own performance rather on the client. Consider alternatives. How does that resonate with you? And I thought, but that's what you did. You did say how accurate. What would you add or subtract to what I've heard? And every time you said, I've heard, then I decided I don't think that's relevant to you anymore. And then you said, consider adding more explicit language that clearly communicates the client is free to agree or disagree. And her example she gave here, she said, what connection might there be, if any? I said, oh, okay. That's a very open invite then if we add to any of our questions, if any. Then I think also the question when you asked about how much responsibility, you were very patient in rephrasing the question so that you could ask about the responsibility factor in the relationship, which I thought you were very patient and you just waved with this new observation, but it was never forceful. I didn't think it was in any way forceful, which I wanted to put up there for you, that I thought it was really well introduced, very respectful. And also the question when you say, but what would John say to you? Because that almost, I felt that was kind of what you wanted to say to her. And it was so clever to say, but you know, you're just a coach. What would this significant person in your life actually say? Which I thought was, I put it in the invite to the observations and solutions. Might not be completely correctly, but I think your questions were really open-ended tonight. They were definitely one at a time. Your pace was connected. Some areas you picked up the pace, some areas you just dropped the pace. And you absolutely gave her the opportunity to think, to feel, to reflect. So I think your pace, I enjoyed also the varying of the pace during the session. I felt you were very connected with the pace from a pace point of view.
Yeah.
Language, I immediately wrote down Wonder Woman. It was such a small comment, and I wonder if a different coach would actually pick up on it. But I think it was so insightful when you asked, you know, you picked up on it and you asked the question about Wonder Woman, which actually brought the next layer of what am I feeling and what am I thinking and what is my own limitations and do I want it to be a limitation at all? So I thought that was so clever that you picked it up and you actually used that to introduce a new layer of depth into the conversation. And the last one was, does the client do most of the talking? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's everything I wrote down.
Yeah, I think that was, I was like, you only need to do like 2 or 3, but you nailed them all. And she nailed them all. It was really, really good. And I want to say that, Christine, you said you really wanted to work on the beginning, structuring the agreement. And I wasn't intentionally bringing a hard thing to structure. But I really, like, it was on my heart and I didn't know how to like whittle it down myself. And so I did then unintentionally throw you a very hard like thing to begin a session with. And I thought you did a really beautiful, great job of helping me get it down to something like we could just talk about in a 30-minute session and focus on. You didn't try to bite off more than we could have chewed in 30 minutes. And just even by the time we got to the end of the coaching agreement, I felt a lot better because I had then given words to what was kind of all muddled a little bit up in there. So good job. You did a really good job with that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, well, we need to end. So I'll give you my Zoom link unless you have one, Christine, that you want to send me quick, or I can give you my thing.
Well, we probably both have one. I don't know what I'm logged into. I might be logged into my work Zoom, because of course I have like, hold on, I have both.
But don't you need a recording for Cheryl? Is that what this is?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm
We
going
could just
to,
stay on here.
no, that's okay. I'm going to
Okay.
quickly ship you over a link.
Okay, perfect.
In our chat here. We have
Okay.
chat, right? We're on Zoom,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
I don't even know for a second. What am
Bless.
I in? I've lost my mind.
Oh, well, you find that.
There it
Get
is.
it.
There's my Zoom link.
Can wish Rita a good evening. I hope you get
Thank you, Rita.
some good sleep tonight and you're feeling more refreshed by Thursday.
Thank you so much, guys. Have
You're
a good day.
welcome. Thanks. Okay.
Thanks.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye. Okay, I will click on this and meet you over. Do you need to use the restroom or anything?
Yes, I'll be there in like 2 minutes.
Okay, no worries.
Okay.
Yep.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.